Hey, I'm St-Pierre, and you're listening to Go Podcast. Today we are talking about open source. Hey Gophers, this will be the last episode of 2022. I will be back next year, and hopefully I will be able to be a little bit more frequent in my episode. Try to keep one episode per 2 weeks, like I was supposed to do this year. This will be a quick episode today, and we will talk about open source and kind of general. And I'm sure lots of you might have heard that the Gorilla Web Toolkit kind of archived their projects a little bit, last week or less than 10 days ago, whatever. And that inspired me to talk a little bit about open source, because the first thing as a maintainer myself, I kind of saw or discover what it really is to maintain a project. And I'm not saying that I fully understand what the Gorilla contributors or maintainers were living, because of course my project is nothing compared to what they have. But my main point is, even though their projects are archived, their WebSocket is still the better choice today, even though it's not maintained anymore. So I think the first message I'd like our community to accept or to propagate is that it's not because a person's project is not maintained anymore that it's not good. If you take Bolt, for example, the database, it has been archived for a long time now, and the project is still working very fine. Myself, I'm still using lib/pq for my Postgres driver, because, well, first of all, it's what I always used, and to me this project is kind of done, and it's fine. I mean, if there is any kind of security issue at some point, there will be someone that will do a patch, or you could do it as well. I mean, anyone can contribute, so it's not the end of a project, because the maintainer and contributors are not going to maintain it anymore. Usually it is, because nobody really step up, and this is what they tried to do. They tried to find a replacement for more than 2 years, whatnot, and it's very difficult sometimes to find someone. But if you check the commit, and especially for the WebSocket, it was not very active lately. So even though there was basically still a maintainer or maintainers during the last year or 2 years, the amount of commit is not reflecting anything like that. So I guess my main idea at the moment is that there's no reason to jump ship and try to find an alternative and whatnot. I mean, it still is the best WebSocket project, and they have multiple other projects, and I use their mux at first when I start doing Go. I was kind of looking for frameworks to do web development, and Gorilla Mux was one of the one I tried at first. It's fine. I'm not using that since a long time now. But even though there's no maintainer anymore, there's still a chance that if a fork might happen, and someone might want to maintain it. And frankly, if you are using a library, then why not try to contribute? And this will be the second segment, so I won't go too far in there. So I just want to finish with this thing. So hopefully our community, the Go community, will kind of accept that sometimes a project can be done and it's fine. I mean, it's very, very generous of contributors to give their time to produce libraries that we are all using, and it's just fine when they are when it's enough for them, and it's not a good reason to say, oh well, there's no active development anymore. I mean, active development, what it means, at some point the maintainer had an idea for their project, and at some point it's done. And if the maintainers doesn't want to pursue after their vision is complete, then it's the responsibility of the community to jump back and say, oh well, we will continue that. And I'm seeing a little bit this in the Elm community. I'm a huge fan of Elm. I know Go is mostly backend and whatnot, but I'm a huge fan of the Elm programming language, and I was doing that in 2017 and 18, and this project as I won't go into the detail, but let's just say that there is one maintainer, a little bit like Python, so benevolent dictator for life or whatever. And at some point the community is wants more than what the maintainer of the project is seeing for this project. So there's a fork at the moment that started, and there's a big chance that, well, not a big chance, but there's a chance that this fork might continue the project, because that one is not archived, but it's there's no release, and for a programming language, well, you might need to have active development. This is different than a library a little bit, in my opinion. But enough of that. My main point is that it's fine. It's fine that some projects sometimes are just completed and they are archived, but they are still very useful, and there's no reason not to use them, in my opinion, especially if you have been using them for years. Secondly, I'd like to talk a little bit about, what can programmers do to help open source project, because at some point, you're using a library. Let's say you're using one or two libraries in your project, and it's all nice, and one way to try and make sure that this library keeps going is that it's worth it to go to the library repository and look at if any help is needed, especially if you are using this library or projects a lot, and it. You are probably one of the best person to try and start contributing to that project, because let's say that the maintainer have a some kind of roadmap or anything like that. So you should understand what they are talking about, or you should share a little bit of their vision for this library or this project, because you, as an active user, you are probably having the same idea or knows the shortcomings that you are seeing while using this library. So just going to the GitHub page and look in the issues, try to answer some question, try to even report some issues. Just tell the maintainer that you are using their library. Just talk a little bit about this library around you, and all of those small things can go a long way. Because I can tell you, I'm maintaining static backend, and it's very hard to produce something, and you don't really know exactly how many people are using it and things like that. You kind of feel a little bit lonely at first, until you reach a certain popularity with a project. When it's just you or a handful of contributors, it's not an easy. It's not always easy. You really have to have some passion to pursue the project. So that's why I'm saying, if you are using a library often, it would be nice for the majority of developers to take a little bit of time and just try to see, can you help at all? It might just be answering an issue. Someone have a question. You might have done something with the library that someone else is trying to do, and they are asking that, and just going there and replying would help a lot, the maintainer. And from there, like I was saying, reporting issues, maybe even try to contribute to the library would be extremely helpful. And I'm also guilty of not doing that enough, I would say, because I'm also using some libraries and whatnot, and I'm the first one to admit that yes, I've not really paid much attention to their repo. And to return to this Gorilla WebKit, I mean, I am a huge user of the WebSocket, and to be completely frank, I was not even aware that they were looking for a maintainer. And if I knew that, and it's easy to say now that the project is archived, but I might have tried to at least contribute a little bit. I'm not saying I would have wanted, or to be the maintainer of that project. I'm just saying that if they claim that they are having a lot of usage, and if only 1% or 2% of their user base would have contributed back, maybe that would have been a huge help. But sometimes there's just not much to do as well. So looking at the Gorilla WebSocket issues list, that there's mostly questions and whatnot. So sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating as well to start contributing. It sounds easier than what it is, and sometimes it is easier than what someone might think it is. So there's two sides for this coin, I would say. I think the difficulties to start contributing to an open source project at first is that you don't really know exactly what to do, and you might not be willing to pick something yourself because you don't know if it will be helpful or not. So I think the easiest way to start is just by talking to the maintainers and contributors to that project. Just start establishing a communication, and from there, they should be able to give you some detail about what you could do. And the first thing that someone can do to almost all project right now, right away, is just looking at their README file or their documentation, and if you see something, a typo or something that is not clear, just sending a pull request for improving the documentation is probably the easiest thing to do to start contributing to an open source project, because you are already using that library. You are already consuming their documentation, so you might most certainly have seen something that was not clear, or maybe it was not there at all. You are missing some information. So anything that can make the project easier for newcomers or people that are starting is always appreciated, from the maintainer point of view. From there, you would have started or opened a conversation with contributors and maintainers, and from there you could try to tackle something more complex, like a small issues, for example, and if you want, but yes, I think it's something that we might not be doing as much as we should. And if you think about that, we are building our systems on top of open source project and things like that. I'm the first one that I will admit that I'm using the GNU core utils every day, every 5 minutes, in fact. So yes, I think if we would start to adopt this mindset a little bit of trying to help a little bit in exchange for using this library, well, that would be nice. And bigger organization, they could chip in terms of sponsorship and whatnot, but that's a totally different conversation. But as a developer, sometimes you might be in a great position to help those projects. All right, that's it for this episode. So I wish you a happy holiday and whatnot wherever you are, and I will be back in January with more Go content. Thank you very much.